So in 2018, we had midterm elections, and I was watching a YouTube video, and someone was doing a giveaway, and all we had to do was comment below something good that happened or something good in our lives or something like that, right? And because it was the midterm elections in America, I commented for the first time in like a very long time or ever, there was the most voter turnout, and people tore me to shreds in the comments. They were like, how dare you bring this up in a beauty channel? Like, this has nothing to do with it. Why would you bring politics into it? First of all, that statement is not political. No matter what political beliefs you have, even if it's like completely opposite of mine, if you are eligible and you went out and you used your right to vote and you used your voice, that is amazing. It is the best news that we could have in America at that time. We need to vote on policies that we believe in. All of that to say, I do not give a shit about talking politics and talking about social unrest or any other kind of sensitive, sticky topics on my channel. I just want to do it right in the way that I feel is right. So it's taken me so long to film and refilm and rethink how I was going to do this video. The first time I filmed was last Saturday, March 13th, which is also Breonna Taylor's. I keep saying Tyler, I don't know why. It was the anniversary of her death, and she still has not received justice. So I feel like we're just gonna say that until the end of time at this point. My intention for the concept of this video to begin with was a look back on 2020, because it was actually a really great year for me despite everything else that was going on in the world. And I wanted to talk about how good of a year it was for me, and then briefly touch on the pandemic and Black Lives Matter and just everything that happened in 2020. But I felt like I wasn't doing it justice because I was kind of vaguely glossing over things. I was really scratching the surface. I wasn't saying anything that I felt was of substance or, I don't know, was worthwhile. So I scrapped that. I then decided like maybe I should just talk about my year and how 2020 was so big for me and how I've been feeling really good this year and how basically like my mental health journey throughout the years to how I've arrived here. And then Tuesday happened. So this past Tuesday, March 16th, there was a shooting in Atlanta, and the shooter targeted Asian spas and killed 8 people total, 6 of whom are Asian American women. And I'll get into that later, but definitely that news and the media coverage around it and just the way that people have been treating it has really set back my progress in mental health, I think. And just over the weekend, honestly, over the past weekend, I just started feeling really fatigued, and I think I know why, but again, I'll get into that a little bit later. This is just a long intro into my reservations about how to make this video and how to construct it. So I think what I've arrived at and what I'm going to do today is to firstly talk about 2020, my mental health journey up until this point, and then get into how my mental health has taken a few steps back from the progress that I have made. So let's start talking about 2020. I'm going to start from the beginning of the year and I'm going to go all the way through. Just some major key points in my life. So in January, I was interviewed and hired for a company that works with autistic kids, even though I have no experience in it, quite frankly, but they were such a wonderful company, honestly. So because I was going to work with kids, I was asked by the company to do a TB test, and my doctor at the time noticed that I hadn't had a full blood panel in a while. So she sent me to do a full blood panel, and when the results came back, she told me I had hyperthyroidism. I really did not like my doctor. That's why I said my doctor at the time. I have since switched doctors. But when she was telling me that I had hyperthyroidism, she was like, have you heard of it? And I was like, no, this is news. And she was like, oh, well, you should just Google it. Okay. So I then set up an appointment with an endocrinologist for like March or April. It took a really long time to get an appointment. And then I started going on medication, and I was getting blood tests like pretty regularly at this point. It was like anywhere between 2 to 8 weeks from the last blood test I I would take all of that to say is that one of the biggest hurdles of hyperthyroidism that I have is fatigue. I'm sure it has something to do with the medication as well, although I'm not on any medication right now. I had so much fatigue, and I think my thyroid is acting up, and that's probably why I've been feeling fatigue this past week, starting from last weekend. And like my blood tests were like so strange. So obviously when I first took the blood test, the full blood panel, my thyroid levels were very high. They put me on medicine, and then it just kept like fluctuating. It was really whack. And then after 2 blood tests of it being normal, they took me off my medication altogether. And then this past January, my endocrinologist told me, by the way, you have Graves. Like very casually. I don't know what the fuck is up with my doctors, but they all seem very uncaring about my health. I've switched doctors so many times in my life. It is tiring. I don't know, like I feel like maybe I just want to be coddled so much, and none of these doctors are giving me that because it's a profession, not therapy. I don't know. Anyway, so I have Graves. Moving on. Then February 2020, of course, all of this other shit is still going on, but in February, my uncle passed away. He is one of my mom's brothers. My mom has a huge family, and this uncle in particular was the one who sponsored most, if not the entire family, to come to America. A lot of people came in for his funeral. A lot of our family came in for the funeral, which was actually a really big deal because, like I said, my mom has a huge family, so people just don't like each other. They love holding on to grudges, and that's probably why I am the way that I am. Anyway, at the end of the month, I put in my 2 weeks for the company that just hired me. I am so sorry, but I was just getting sick all the time because if you know anything about working with kids, they are petri dishes of hell. They are lovely kids, but they just are sick all the time, right? They always have snot circulating, and I live with someone who has a pre-existing condition, my mom. I am her primary caregiver. Any kind of illness that I guess we normal people have, her body's just gonna process it way differently and way worse. So yeah, conflict of interest, I put in my 2 weeks. The first week of March was the last of my 2 weeks, and I interviewed and got hired by the company that I'm currently working at. And then the week after, on March 17th, the county lockdown. I really just like barely fucking made it because afterwards my company has been on a hiring freeze since. And this is just a little side story, but I think they announced the lockdown like a day before, 2 days before, like there was kind of no time. And so March 16th, the day before the lockdown, I went and got my acrylics removed. And I remember coming home and my mom was like, how dare you go out and go to a place where people are touching your hands, they're spreading germs, da 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 da. And I was like, do you really want me to fight this zombie apocalypse with acrylics? You want me to fight for toilet paper and water with long nails at the risk of breaking a fucking fingernail and then being out of commission? Like, no. I commend all the girls who are still doing their nails in this lockdown, but no, not for me. We're keeping it short. There's a lot of brown in this frame right now. Maybe I should have worn something else, but we're here, we're queer. But like that first few days of lockdown, honestly, was so, I just remember it being so bizarre. Like literally no cars on the street. It was just, everything was empty. People were not going out unless they absolutely had to. And it really should have fucking stayed that way. Like they really said, we just need to flatten the curve for like 3 weeks and then everything can go back to normal. And here we are a year later. Because of lockdown, my brother also moved back in with me and my parents. So it's been an adjustment learning how to all live together again. April, May, June. Literally nothing happened in those months. Even though I was hired, I could not work. I did orientation on the day that I was scheduled to do orientation, but afterwards I couldn't do anything. I was literally just getting paid to sit around because I had to wait for my equipment, my laptop to come. April, May, June literally was just 3 months of all play no work. This is why like I was dealing with quarantine so much better than other people, I guess, was because I'm usually at home anyway. I'm very much a homebody, so I can find ways to entertain myself. Did I wish that I could go out and do things? Absolutely, 100%. But I really had no problem staying in as much as I was. I mean, I was going on walks at 7 in the morning. I was making so many playlists. I make killer playlists. I rewatched a lot of shit. I rewatched a lot of anime. I did Naruto, I did Bleach, but I kind of like stopped. Like I always kind of stop after the tuning exams for Naruto because it's a lot. And then I was gonna tackle Shippuden and like no, I just stopped. Bleach, I stopped at like the Heiko Mundo arc because I really don't care. I really can't be bothered. But I tried. A for effort. What else did I rewatch? I rewatched Avatar. I think my boyfriend and I bought the Blu-ray set, and then the week after it was on Netflix, so that's cool. We watched Harry Potter. My brother like exclusively watches Harry Potter movies and like nothing else, so we rewatched a lot of that. I reread the Potter books. Harry Potter is probably the one thing that I know the most information about, which is really sad. Anyway, oh, I wrote a lot. I love writing ever since I was a kid. And for a really long time, like I couldn't write and I was just not interested in it. And it would be like on and off. And right now I'm kind of in an off phase, but I was writing so much those 3 months, those first few months of quarantine at least. Yeah, I was writing a lot for a while. I don't really remember when I like stopped, but I was writing a lot for a while and that put me in a really good mood. Oh yeah, and then I started Curology. It's okay. It's okay. Like my skin was not that bad, but it was bad for moi, like how my skin normally is. At that time, my skin was looking rough for me. I also removed my IUD and got an implant and I love it. It's way better. So we started working in July. That's when I got my laptop. Fucking crushed it. I'm like amazing at this job, but this job is so easy to be good at. It's like extremely easy to be amazing at. So it's not that big of a boast. In July, I also started going to a chiropractor. I've had back pain and knee pain for years, like probably since I was 12. And I've always been told by my many doctors that have been shit, don't worry about it because you're too young to have back pain. So I had this pediatrician from when I was like maybe 10 until I was 18. And she always would dismiss my concerns with, well, you're too young, like that shouldn't be a problem. Okay, I hear you, but like because I'm too young and it is a problem, like shouldn't you take a look into it? Again, this is like totally a tangent, but when I was 15, I had my period for like 8 weeks. I came to her and I said, I've had my period for 8 weeks. Can you do something for me? And she was like, that's not normal. Like that shouldn't be happening. I'm like, obviously. Like she was basically saying like, I don't believe you. And I was like, do you want me to pull my pants down and show you right now? Like show you the bloody, what do you need me to do to convince you that I genuinely need help? She eventually put me on birth control pills, but it was just a very annoying interaction. And I think she realized what she was saying, like after I said like, do you want to see it? Anyway, all to say, I've had very shitty doctors who have all dismissed my back pain and knee pain because as soon as I went to the chiropractor, they were like, there's something wrong with your back. We need to take x-rays. X-rays show I have scoliosis. So love that for me. I've continued to be treated by this chiropractor, and because it's a chiropractor, I'm paying out of pocket. So in August, there was a position that was opening up and I applied for a promotion. It really fucking dragged all the way to November. Like they were like, okay, submit your thing, you have this long to do it, and then oh, we have to wait for this, we have to wait for this, we have to wait for this, all the way until November for everyone to find out that no one is getting promoted. So what happened was upper management was closing a lot of projects. I don't want to say a lot. They were closing some projects and they were trying to save as many people their jobs as possible by just reassigning them. We're all contract workers, so they kind of don't give a shit where they put us. Basically, the position that was open, the equivalent position for it from another project, they just pulled that guy and put him in our project on our team, which is perfectly fine. Like, I'm glad that guy didn't lose his job, but I don't know, I could not feel more expendable. I remember talking to my lead about it and he was like, well, at least, you know, like if our project shuts down, they'll do everything they can to save our jobs. And I'm like, sure, but it also really feels like what they're saying is we don't care about the progression of your career, we just need you to work, which is understandable, but it's just not nice. Around like October, November-ish, I was considering starting a union. Not for the thing that I just said, but there were a lot of other reasons to want to start a union. But quite honestly, it's hard because I don't think I'm equipped for starting a union for contingent workers. Like, I don't even know if anything like that exists or if it would even be successful. And it's really hard to work from home and try to network with people that you've never met before in a pandemic. Like, I'm brand new to this company, you know, so I don't know anyone. It's just not like a super, I guess, fruitful environment to try to start a union in. What else did I do? Oh right, in November I created a playlist, a Christmas playlist, which I've wanted to do for a really long time, but I knew that it was going to be so time consuming and hard, and like this might be stupid to even talk about given everything else that I'm going to be talking about, but Christmas playlists took so much time, and I fucking love making playlists, so this is important to me. And then December 28th I got my ears pierced, and now I'm wearing earrings all the time. I pierced my ears back in 4th grade, and then we found out I had a nickel allergy, so I just let it close up, and then I never cared to get my ears re-pierced because I knew that if I did I would just spend all of my money on piercings, and that's literally what I'm doing right now. So I'm a self-fulfilling prophecy, what can I tell you. That was my 2020. Now thinking out loud, I guess there are a lot of things that like weren't that great, but I don't know, like I said, there was a lot of movement, there was a lot of like, I guess, discovering things. Like even discovering that I had scoliosis was good for me because now I can do something about it, and I'm getting treated for it, and I'm exercising a lot because the only thing that's like really helpful to my back pain is exercise, which I really hate because I don't like working out. It sucks, but it helps, and I'm trying to get all the serotonin that I need. All of this is to say, although 2020 was such a terrible year overall, it was a really good year for me. It was very progressive for me, or I really progressed in that year at least, and I'm feeling pretty good this year despite everything that's been happening, which again I'll get to later. But listen, I was not feeling like this a few years ago, like I wanted to kill myself, and this is where I'm really shifting towards the mental health part. You get told so much that like, oh, hang on, one day it is going to be better, and clearly I'm at the one day where it is better, but the journey here was so laborious, and I guess that is what makes it all the more rewarding. So very quick like overview. I had a really bad depressive episode in junior year of high school. I was not able to get help because I live with Asian parents. I don't know what to tell you. We don't believe in mental health. We don't believe in things like that. 2017, I had another horrible depressive episode. There was just a lot of shit happening in 2017, honestly. And then I got help. So in September 2017, I checked myself into a mental institution. My parents very kindly came with me because I think they knew that ignoring it the way that they did when I was in high school was not the thing to do. So I checked myself into a mental institution. They helped me get started on medication. So the first thing that I started on was bupropion. It's the generic name for Wellbutrin. I mean, I guess I'll just use the brand name since people mostly know it by that. So September 2017, I was on Wellbutrin. I forgot the dosage. Doesn't really matter. November the same year, I started seeing a therapist who I'm still seeing. I was on Wellbutrin for almost 2 years, like August 2019 I stopped, which I'm like really grateful for. First of all, take your fucking medicine. I don't know who you are. I don't know if you need to be reminded, but please take your medicine if you need to, because sticking to Wellbutrin and using it as a crutch to get myself back up was definitely very helpful, even if it was like not at all pleasant. I had such crappy side effects from Wellbutrin, like not the worst side effects, but also it just also didn't make things easy. Anyway, it did help for the amount of time that I was on it, and I did take it as prescribed. And then I was on Remeron alongside with Wellbutrin. I stopped August 19th as well, and I think I was on Remeron for a little less than a year, but those two medications together like really fucking did it for me, like amazing. I haven't been on any mental health medication since then, and like I said, the journey like to get here to a place where I'm content and I'm happy enough to share it was long. Obviously, it's been years. I'm such a nostalgic person, which is why I wanted to do this video, but I always look back and think like, what would have happened if I had killed myself? Like, what would I have missed out on? It's just a reminder for me to keep going. Getting help is really hard. Admitting you need help is really hard, but what motivated me was I did not want to be in the place that I was, so I needed to do everything that I fucking could to not be there anymore. And that might not work for everyone. Excuse me, you are so rude. That might not work for everyone, but that was my mentality in pushing myself to get help. Obviously, I had a really strong support system. My parents were finally trying to understand me. So because of everything that was going on, I had a withdrawal from school in 2017. I was just working instead. And I remember I came home from work one day and my mom was like, guess what I did today? I was like, what? She said, I looked up what depression was on Google. I read up on depression. And that meant so much. Obviously, you really need people to support you. You really need people who, even if they don't understand you, try to. I still don't think my parents fully understand what it is to be depressed and live with depression and have depression. But the fact that they try and the fact that they do try to check up on me and say, how are you doing mentally? How are you feeling emotionally? Means a world of difference, you know? And it wasn't just them. I have really great friends. I don't want to say amazing brother, but he is pretty good at taking care of me. The need, the want to get help and to make yourself better is just so important, and not everyone is going to be there, because I think also in high school I wasn't ready to get help yet. So even if my parents had been willing to give me help, it wouldn't have been effective. I don't think I was ready yet. Like, I just feel so fucking preachy, and I feel like I have no right to say this, but this is honestly just from my experience. Yes, things will get better one day, and I always hated people saying that because you want things to be better right now. And basically what just made things better for me, even when things were shitty, was just, like I said, my support system and wanting to be better, wanting to feel better, wanting to get better, and also just doing shit that you already know that you like. Now I'm enjoying so many things that I didn't think that I would like and I had never been into. Like, for example, I'm buying vinyls. I think I mentioned that in my first video. I'm buying vinyls. I never fucking did that. I enjoy it. I enjoy curating my collection. I'm buying scented candles. I'm lighting scented candles. They just give me so much joy and so much peace. I love smelling candles, and I love the ones that I get. They're soy candles. They're great for the environment. I love reusing the jars. It's really small things like that that I'm enjoying now that I've never enjoyed before. But at the time when I was at my lowest, sticking to the things that I knew I loved was key for me. There was no point in doing things that I wasn't sure I would like, because then I would be discouraged if I didn't like it. So I just went back to the same things, and that might seem tedious and boring for other people, but that was what helped me. Like I said, all of this was just to lead to now, to me feeling like a new person, like really fucking great. And 2020 was such a great year for showing your true colors, honestly. I did a lot more activism work in 2020 than I had done before. 2020 introduced more than ever the idea of anti-racism. It's not enough to be not racist anymore. You have to be anti-racist and you have to make a stand. And that might trouble some people. Like, I remember, this was like bothering me so much. When the protests were going on during the summer, there were a lot of YouTubers, beauty YouTubers that I saw that would say, oh, well, I just wanted to come on here, make a video because I need a distraction from everything that's going on, and I know that you guys love it when I make these videos because it's a distraction for you guys as well, and da-da-da, like all that shit. I understand the sentiment. I know that it's not ill-intentioned, but every time I heard that, all I could think of was, shut the fuck up. You don't need to say that out loud, because there are so many people who cannot be distracted no matter what they do. So many people lost their jobs because of COVID. They can never look away from being homeless or being unemployed. There are Black people being killed in the streets just for being Black. They cannot look away from that. They cannot be distracted by it. And of course, all of these YouTubers that I was watching saying these things were white. And it was really just like a check your privilege kind of thing. Like, I understand the sentiment. I know, like I said, not ill-intentioned at all, but it was just something very insensitive to say. It, I guess, was a little strange to me to see people saying things like, let's get distracted by this. Like, I understand not looking at the news all the time for your own mental health, but to come on camera and say it is another thing. Like, just make your video and move on. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking out of my ass. I don't know. Obviously, it's those people's channels and whatever they want to do and how they want to present themselves, which is, I guess, going to transition me into why I can't be distracted and I can't turn away from shit. So now to address my current mental health, as in like the very moment mental health, especially given this past week's event. Okay. How am I gonna tackle this? I am female. I was assigned female at birth. I identify as female. I present as female. I think there are very few people who will look at me and assume that I'm anything other than female. A lesbian maybe, but I wish. I've always had, well, it's because of the culture that I grew up in as well. Very conservative Vietnamese parents. Not very conservative. They're like mildly conservative, enough conservative. So I've always had this like deep-seated fear of going outside. Like, even if I'm not actively scared, it's internalized. You never know what people are going to do to you. You never know what people are going to say to you, particularly at night. And it's just because of my gender. I just quickly pinned my hair back because it was taking up too much of my attention. I feel like I'm going to say that all the time. So in the past year, it started becoming be careful because I'm Asian. However, I live in a very diverse area, so I was thinking, oh, it wouldn't be that bad. Sorry, I had to scratch my ass. It wouldn't be that bad. I will be careful going out purely because of the fact that I'm Asian, but maybe it won't be that bad. And then Tuesday happened. It's just a grim reminder that, by the way, I'm not only a woman and Asian, I'm an Asian woman. And given light of the shooting and the media coverage and what the police have to say, that now means that I am not human. I am a commodity that a person that has a bad day and a sex addiction can just dispose of because I don't know. I really don't understand that line of thinking. I don't think Asian people will hear or see anything in the media or how we are presented in the media that will inform us about ourselves, about who we are. However, it does inform the rest of the world and the rest of the country about who we are. Without meeting us, without knowing us, people will take those images and those concepts and apply it to every Asian person. There's this rhetoric that's like being normalized that makes people believe that they are allowed to treat people, not just Asian Americans, just people in general, however the fuck they want to treat them, including murdering them because they had a bad day. This is not new to the Asian American community. There are just different waves of racism that exists in this country, and right now we're the scapegoats. Similarly to how Black people were the scapegoats, and then before that Muslim people were the scapegoats, and before that other people were the... There's always a group that has to take the fall for the country, I guess, and right now that's us. And no, we're not gonna be your scapegoats. And like I said, I live in a very diverse community, so I thought that that was going to, I guess, protect me in some kind of way, and now I just feel very disappointed. I live in the Bay Area. There's so many Asian communities out here, and I feel like we're pretty well integrated into the cultures here, and yet a lot of the attacks that have happened have been in the Bay Area, like in San Francisco, Chinatown, and Oakland. I was just reading some stuff on Stop AAPI Hate on Instagram of things that happened in South Bay as well. You know, like, just, it's everywhere. It's everywhere in the nation. I don't know, I just thought that we were better than that. I thought that this area was better than that because the close proximity that we are to so many other different races. I thought people would, I guess, empathize with us more because we are their neighbors and we know them and we interact with them. Maybe that was just naive of me. Maybe I was stupid to think that. However, there are our organizers that have been out there trying to make our community safe again, trying to help us score, particularly elderly Asian people who seem to be the main targets of these attacks. But the national dismissal is really, really disappointing, discouraging, and telling of, I don't know, what people have previously thought of as like the most contributing minority group. They clearly don't give a shit about us. Obviously, peddling that model minority myth has really done its job in how other communities are viewing us now. They clearly think that we don't need the help and we don't deserve the help, I guess. This really like fucking derailed as soon as I started talking about the AAPI community and what we're going through, because obviously it's the thing that's closest to me since it is the community that I am from. It's just sad because we're here. We've always been here. I don't know what else to say. I don't even know if any of this is usable. I wanted to talk about dominant group privilege, which very much overlaps with white privilege, but I think I'll just save that for another video because I'm looking at the time and I've been filming for a very long time and rambling about nothing, and I feel bad subjecting people to that. So let's just wrap up with a few takeaways. Things do get better. It's oversaid, it's so overused, but things do get better. Time fixes most things, but in the meanwhile, always work at overcoming whatever obstacles. Just always commit to seeing another day. Secondly, stop Asian hate. I will leave resources in the description box in case you want to help. I hope you do. It's not fair. It's not reasonable for anyone to hurt anybody for any fucking reason. And that's that on that. And protect sex workers. I hope this video was of some value. I hope I said all that I wanted to say. I feel like I missed a lot of things, but that's all I have for today.